Hey everyone, what's up and welcome. It's an exciting time to be a gamer right now because Arc Raiders is getting closer and closer. And as the date nears, the information frequency is only increasing. We have new information regarding the wipe system that we're going to go over today. That's going to be the meat and potatoes. We have some more updated FAQ sections of their Discord that I wanted to go through as well from a couple of days ago, and just some fun banter that's been going on online. But we also got the launch of Battlefield 6 tomorrow. Super crazy to say. And if you guys weren't aware, a bunch of Embark, ex-Embark developers were OG Battlefield developers. So it's kind of like it's kind of coming full circle, you know. It's just over on the official Embark Studios Twitter account, the developers behind Arc Raiders, they've tweeted out that they were wishing DICE and EA teams a fantastic launch tomorrow with Battlefield 6. They said many of us at Embark have deep roots in the Battlefield franchise, and we're excited to see it take its next step. Here's to the craft, the community, and a great ride ahead. Congrats to all from Patrick. Now, obviously, there's just some deep respect, you know, from a gaming development standpoint. No matter what goes on online, I think a lot of these developers just have a deep respect for the craft that goes into making games and the amount of actual raw effort and work it takes. And so it's just nice to see that there's, you know, that some real class being put on display between both games. So that's just good. Let's take a look at what Arc put out earlier today. This is gonna be the meat and potatoes. Like I said, progress wipes are a big part of the extraction genre. And a lot of people have been curious how Arc Raiders is gonna handle them. From the Arc Raiders design director, Virgil, who's gonna go over account progression wipes, expeditions, and raider projects. Expeditions and raider project systems we're not quite aware of. Let's learn about them. This is the actual article they put out. They said, hello all, I'm Virgil, the design director for Arc Raiders, and I'd like to spend a bit of time talking about a topic that is important to many players familiar with games like Arc, this being the subject of progression wipes, or as we refer to it, the Expedition Project. I don't think a lot of people will have as deep of an understanding of how important this is to the genre. Even I don't understand its full like depths because I haven't played a ton of extraction, but I do know that wipes is an important part for the long term, you know, the end game ordeal of these experiences. And it's good to see they're giving it a lot of effort. I think a lot of us are coming into Arc Raiders as new players to the extraction genre, and to think we're going to be getting something really polished is good, because there's been a lot of bad extraction shooters in the extraction genre past. So they said the question of how they're going to handle these wipes has been coming up, and until now the answer to that has always been currently we don't intend to do mandatory wipes. They said there is going to be no intended mandatory wipes, but there is going to be some voluntary reset mechanics. So a reset wipe if you choose to do so for probably incentive reasons. They want to explain though that they aren't unaware, they're not, you know, like delusional. They do see the benefits of a global wipe and the benefits it provides. Veteran players can experience the game fresh. Economy is reset to the baseline, and all players have about the same level of capabilities, at least for a little while. These are all benefits that come with wipes. And so hearing that Arc Raiders is going to have no gear reset if you don't choose to do so, you can imagine how quickly and how aggressively, you know, high tier loot could start to pile up and even influence, you know, a shift in the economy of the game in terms of total loot. They said, however, one thing that mandatory wipe does not do is respect the investment of those players who do not have as much time to play overall. And I truly believe this is something you just can't ignore. I think Arc Raiders is a great entry experience to the extraction genre. And I think it's also going to, you know, invite a lot of casuals who may not have ever tried one of these games before. And so with casuals comes people who don't have, you know, 5 hours, 6 hours a day to play, even never mind 10 hours. They might have, you know, 2 hours, go do a couple raids and call it a day. So being able to respect their time, I think, is also very important. They wanted to take a stab at trying their own hand, and ideally something that just best suits Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders is very different from pretty much every other extraction we've tried, and if they've done a good job with the core experience so far, I think it's fair to say we should put our faith and trust in that they can execute this as well. To clarify, that's not me saying not to be critical. I think critical feedback is a key part in them being able to develop properly. So keep that coming. Let's talk about the Expedition Project. This is one of the systems they brought up alongside the wipe, which brings us to Expedition Project. The tunnel networks connected to Speranza are very vast, but largely unexplored or inaccessible. Most survivors stay within their settlements, But like the raiders who dare venture topside, there are those who dare venture even farther once the Rust Belt has given all it can offer. Some raiders choose to set out beyond the borders of what they know. As of now, this has always been a one-way trip. This is a super, when I read this earlier, I thought this was like the most horrified, cool way to tie, you know, how a wipe would actually take place in terms of the lore, or like what's actually happening in the world you exist in to make that wipe happen. And so, yeah, you're going to the point of no return. It's a one-way trip, so don't expect to come back. That was really cool to read. They said in the full game, players will have access to a feature called projects. At level 20, the first major project players will have access to is the Expedition project, and then upon completion, this project makes a character reset available. If a player completes a reset, they'll be able to do so again as long as they complete another one of these projects, and they have a visual to go along with this right here. So it seems that these wipe periods are going to be designated time frames. So, you know, come a certain date, you're gonna have to be max level if you want to hit a wipe. If you don't hit the level threshold, you're not going to be able to reset, which means you'll roll into the following wipe with all your gear still, because you, even though you'll have the choice to reset, you won't meet the requirements in order to do so. I think this is a cool system because it also provides rewards to the people who put the time in to meet that level cap, and then in the following wipe, show off the fact that you put the time into the game. I'm going to read this caption off. I think it does a good job at explaining this graph as a whole, so let's just get into it. It said the Expedition project will operate on a repeating cycle of roughly 8 weeks. So October 30th to December 14th, I think that's 8 weeks. During the course of these 8 weeks, players can contribute towards making progress on their Expedition project. So Expedition project is basically an event tracker. Like, they're turning each wipe into almost a progression tracker of its own, and that's what you're working towards maxing out if you want to be able to wipe come wipe time. They said, which will overall be a somewhat large time investment. At the start of the 8th week, the ability to finalize the project will become available and will retain available for the entire week. If a player has fulfilled all the necessary stages of that project, then they'll be able to commit to completing the expedition during this period. They said, should a player's project not be ready during the window to complete the expedition's project, their progress will be kept, but it won't be wiped, and it'll allow them to continue working on the project until the next finalization window, which will probably be another 8 or 9 weeks from that time period. Other projects may be added over time as part of updates, holidays, and other events. That's kind of like what I was saying. They're almost like event trackers of their own. I think this gives a lot of incentive though to continue playing the game, because it almost feels like every 8 weeks there's going to be new rewards to earn for every single wipe. So that is a ton of incentive to keep playing, which I think is very important for the genre, and I haven't seen someone else do it like this, so this sounds enticing. So we do have a little bit of a graphic here that actually shows off a little bit how expeditions are going to work. Like I said, these are the trackers that you need to max out and reach max level for in order to be eligible to wipe when the wipe does come. And it says window closes in 5 days, so that gives you an idea, like, okay, the event's coming to a close. And I actually really like the way they've gone about this. So when you click go to project, it's not like just some basic complete a couple challenges. I'm sure maybe that's actually something they could do, maybe throw in like missions within these expeditions that you have to complete. That would be a cool way to just expand missions. But this one is solely based on the acquiring of parts. So he needs metal parts, rubber parts, plastic parts, and steel springs. He wants to commit these resources, and I'm assuming this furthers along your expedition tracker. So he's going to commit these resources, and he should level up to level 2. Okay, well, I'll cut off the video, but I'm assuming his generator would build. And then, yeah, right there, actually, it just did it. And now he's level 2. So he needs to get this all the way to level 6, and then his expedition tracker will be completed. So this is kind of a quest line of its own. Definitely cool. Definitely exciting to see. I actually like this. And now they want to talk about what is kept and what is lost on the wipe, because I think a lot of players, kind of like with Call of Duty Prestiging, get worried about, their time investment and what do you lose, especially in a game where loot is everything. They said players will lose anything inherent to the character's progress. Levels, skills. Honestly, this kind of just like sounds painful. Losing all your skill points is going to be rough, but I guess that's the point of a wipe. Levels, skills, items in your inventory, workshop, and crafting capabilities. So these are all your workstations and the levels of those workstations, etc. Is that players will keep cosmetics, so anything purchased, earned through like in-game events, bought with coins, battle pass stuff, etc. That's all, like, you don't have to worry about that. That would be insane for a game to take away. They said for convenience, after completing an expedition, players will also be able to skip the majority of the onboarding and tutorial steps. They said this being things like unlocking certain features, maps, etc. As they play through the early game. These will just be available from the start of a fresh reset. So it is cool to think that, hearing this as well, some maps might be locked until you've completed a certain level of missions or a certain amount of missions. Some of these maps, they're definitely going to be more PvP heavy, more dangerous. And so and also the Ark, there's going to be more dangerous threats, and it'll just be more difficult. Now, they said, aside from all the players who like the thrill of starting fresh, why the heck would you give up all your stuff? Like, let's get into the incentives now. What it is we get when we do reset. And this is a kind of make or break it for me. Benefits and incentives. We are all still finalizing the exact benefits, but they said we get permanent account unlocks for each completed expedition. Call of Duty's done something like this with the prestige system, permanent account unlocks. So, you have 10 prestiges, but I really like the UMP 45. I'm gonna unlock that, and now every time I prestige, I'll have that readily available at the start. I don't know if this is gonna be maybe like workstation progression, maybe certain blueprints for certain pieces of gear. That would actually be really nice. So like, even though you don't have high tier workstations, you have the blueprint to just craft something right away. Unique cosmetic rewards for each completed expedition. I imagine maybe we'll get some backpack charms, who knows. Account buffs that are applied for the duration of the following expedition cycle. When I read this, made me a tiny bit worried, but they seem to like understand that it's like, we're keeping it in check. Buffs that are applied for the following wipe, and they said sequential completions of the expedition projects increase the magnitude of these buffs. So if you're to do like 3 wipes in a row, those would stack up to a certain point. It would be interesting to see what these buffs are and how they play out. I'm sure they won't be anything crazy. They have said like Arc Raiders they don't want this to be an absolute competitive integrity mess. I mean, I feel like if they learned anything from the finals in the beginning days of that game, nukes and the freaking heavies, and it just, when it comes to the competitive balance, at least, I don't think there's anything truly competitive when it comes to the extraction genre. But one point they want to drive home is that they are being careful about the nature of these benefits. Completing a reset should never give a player a power or combat advantage. So like I said, they're aware. And they said initially these benefits will center around cosmetics and bragging rights, which is, I think, all anyone's really asking for. To finish off this article with what comes next, they did express that they can change any and all of this stuff before launch and post launch. And there's a couple of key observations they're hoping to observe through these systems they've put in place. And that is, number one, players who are highly engaged can experience the game fresh on a regular cadence while accruing some benefits. And then we also got players who have less time, so more casual players, time to dedicate to the game, who don't have their progress reset outside of their control. They're always able to keep moving forward and come back to the experience where they left off, not feeling like they're behind. Now, this is difficult to do because you're catering to 2 different audiences who are basically in search of 2 completely different experiences, but hopefully they can both coexist and feed into each other's experience to make one beautiful one. They said it's not a silver bullet and they won't achieve a clean break that a mandatory global reset does, but it does aim to be more equitable to all players. Wherever possible, we want to value your time spent in the game as much as you do. And it's complex. They're going to keep moving on it in the future. Be critical, give feedback. This is an ever growing system, but one that could be great in the end game. So like I said, the meat and potato of today's video, the expedition project. We learned lots. I honestly really enjoyed that article. It gave us a deep insight into like how things will work in the game. But let me know your thoughts and opinions on it down in the comment section. For you guys who maybe have played more extraction shooters, do you like the concept of what they're pitching here? And for you guys who maybe haven't played as much extraction, what do you guys think? Now, I don't want to go over this like too in depth because there's just a couple things I wanted to touch on within here, just regarding the monetization systems in the game. This is in their Discord. They updated their FAQ channel. You guys can go hop in their official Discord. I think you guys should just join it regardless. You can read this fully through yourself. This kind of ties into the article I just went over with you guys. And I thought it was important because they kind of touch on the economy and the progression systems that take place in a game, game, which literally make up why wipe systems should even exist. And they said, will it be possible to purchase in-game advantages? No, I'm just going to leave it at that. No, they're not, no pay to win aspects. There's raider decks. And what are these raider decks? We're just learning about them. This is like a battle pass where you can spend cred in order to unlock cosmetic rewards. There are a number of rewards to unlock per page in order to progress to the next page, like a regular battle pass. And they said the number of pages in each raider deck may vary. At launch, this is the important part, raider decks will be free, which is super exciting to hear. But they said you can expect a mix of paid and free raider decks as the new ones are added. I think that this is like how Helldivers does it. They have like some free passes and then they also have some paid passes. And so you can experience it however you want to play. If you want more, the option to pay for more is there. They said, will raider decks expire? They said some raider decks will be permanent. I'm assuming these are going to be the free ones to anyone who purchases the game. Oh, there's lots of content to work through. It's kind of just growing the base level content that people are purchasing into. And as time goes on, the experience that you're buying into becomes more value. And then obviously some of the paid ones, I'm assuming will be limited time. I would think they'd be limited time, or maybe it'll be some of the free ones that are limited time and the paid ones can be purchased whenever. Now that I say that, that actually might be the route they're going to go, because I know in the finals you can buy previous battle passes and I can't imagine them reverting on those systems in Arc Raiders. They said, what is cred and how do I earn it? Cred is an in-game currency that can be earned by playing and completing feats. What are feats? Feats are a set of rotating daily challenges that ask you to complete specific tasks topside. So whether they're missions or collecting a certain amount of resources. Now this is a big one. How can I increase the stash size? You can increase the size of your stash by purchasing more space with coins, which are earned by selling things you bring back from your trips to the surface. So once again, no pay to win. This is all really good to know. This is earnable stuff by just sinking time into the experience we already paid for. And what are raider tokens? Raider tokens are going to be the premium currency. So this is stuff that can be used to acquire stuff in the platform store. You can use them to buy cosmetic items in the shop and to buy premium raider decks when they become available, which will consist of just more cosmetic items. At first, you won't be able to earn raider tokens via gameplay, but there may be opportunities to do so down the line. You can start off with 2,400 raider tokens by getting the deluxe pre-order bundle. So that is cool. There might be ways to earn actual currency in the game. I mean, it's just, that's never something you should even expect. The fact that that might even be possible, I'll take it. Like I said, I highly encourage you guys to go read the actual Discord yourself. There's information regarding the pre-orders, some cross-platform action they got going on, gameplay customization stuff, and system requirements. If you're playing on PC, go give it a read. It's a fun read. It's a good read, and you'll enjoy it. And to finish this off, I found it hilarious over on Arc Raiders Twitter. So apparently there's been word of EA censoring the word Arc Raiders in some of their chat functionalities. And even in the Black Ops 7 game chat, apparently it blurps out Arc Raiders. And so they're kind of playing into the humor here. They said, we're still on track to release on October 30th. I just thought that was awesome. Finish the video on a high note. That's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys are up to date now with everything going on with Arc Raiders. Lots to be excited for. I'm going to be streaming all weekend. Battlefield 6 does come out and I plan to play it lots. But as for Arc Raiders content, you already know we're going to be hitting the server slam before launch and making content and posting gameplay and all that stuff and just anything you didn't know regarding the game. So if you want to be in the loop with Arc Raiders, make sure you subscribe to the channel and notify yourself so when videos go up, you get them. Thanks so much for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll see you guys for Arc Raiders launch. It's only going to get better, man. Catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Keep up, stay up. Peace out.